Veve are continuing to work on the foundations that will hopefully bring them success over the next decade or so. We've got things like MCP, OUP, KYC has been put in place, as well as MTL coming for some users. So how do I feel right now in regards to Veve? Am I excited for the future? Am I taking a step back from it all? And what's my overall thoughts on the market? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. Welcome everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come watch this video on the channel. Just before we get going, if you are enjoying the content, you want to support me further, you can hit a subscribe button, and if you want to support me further than that, you can join the membership. Currently I have been slowing down some of the videos. They are going to be about once a week at the moment, purely because I'm actually working on another business venture where I'm sort of trialing a co-owner role within a company that I'm really passionate about and I'm really excited about. So I will say that focus has sort of been there, but I've still been trying to keep up with everything, and I'm still wanting to bring you as much content as I possibly can when it comes to this crypto stuff. So if you are seeing the videos are sort of missing for a time period, that's usually why, is I'm just putting my focus in different places right now. I'm also feeling like crap today, so I'm gonna just do my best and hopefully my voice doesn't sound too bad in post edit. Veve have been making quite a lot of progress as of recently. You know, there's been a lot of negativity over the last few months, and granted, I do actually believe it was necessary and right for people to complain on that front. We have been talking about MTL, which is the ability to take your money out in different areas, for the last year or so now. There has been a lot of talk on it, there has been a lot of discussions, and now we're actually seeing it come to fruition. There is people who have been able to take out money, there are people who can take out money and chosen not to. I've not currently got it, I've not got KYC yet either, but it is something I'm hoping to get in the next few months or so, and seeing that it all actually plays out. But it is going to show that Veve are continuing to move forward even in a downtrend. And there was a tweet that I posted a while back within a video that Ecomi put out, where it was talking about how they'd actually built their whole business in a bear market, and now obviously we're sort of going into that stage again, or what it looks like anyway, and they're continuing to build. Now, Ecomi and Veve as a whole have really strived forward massively since the times of their beginning. You know, I think Reese talked about in one of the community talks a good few months back that the first few months, you know, they really weren't having a lot of cash flow coming in because there just weren't that many purchases on the app itself. There weren't that many users. And now, of course, we've got a lot more. We've still got things that are selling out, even in this downtrend. We've still got things that are being over the actual retail price that you're having to pay within the market. So I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to think in two separate sort of mindsets, those who are solely in Veve, this being their first financial investment, and then those who are out with of Veve itself and understand a general market view too. So I'm going to try to discuss a little bit of both, just giving a little bit of further education as to where my mind's at, and also just a general overview of maybe how to think a little bit differently if this is your first ever financial investment, purely because you're most likely not keeping up with other things that are going on in the world, just in relation to how this can impact your investment if it is classed as an investment that you're doing right now. And it's just a better way to push that knowledge a little bit further, especially during times when there's downtrends. If we do look at the overall crypto, stock, real estate market and all that sort of stuff, everything is sort of up in arms. You know, the real estate market, especially in the UK right now, is skyrocketed, and it's still up quite high from where it's at. People are having to pay 20, 30 grand over the asking price just to get a sniff of what they're actually trying to get. And then we've got the things like stocks and crypto both tanking, the same as NFTs. We've got the cost of living in the UK especially going up, petrol prices all around the world skyrocketing up as well. It does look like we're going to be coming into a recession in the next few years. Now, I could be wrong on that front, and again, this is always just pure speculation. This is just my own thoughts from what I'm seeing. It does seem that we're moving toward that route, and it does seem that we're in this sort of bubble. And I know the UK has pumped a lot of money into the economy, and at some point or another, this is going to have to be paid back. We're seeing the increase in inflation, we're seeing energy prices go up, we're seeing cost of living go up, and we're not really seeing the income for people who are regularly working going up. So my sort of point of view is that in the next 2 or 3 years, what we're going to find is a lot more people who don't have the same disposable income as they may have had 2 or 3 years ago, or today at this time in last year, because they can now spend it on other things. There's a lot of people going on holidays now. There's a lot of people buying houses, and we're continuing to buy houses during COVID. There are now a lot of people actually getting removed from their job, let go, because the companies can't sustain the number of employees that they're getting. And I also think there's going to be a lot of turmoil when it comes to the push for energy efficiency in the next decade or so. So companies are going to have to really shift their narrative with what they're actually doing. And to me, all of this is going to lead to just not a lot of people having the same disposable income they had during COVID. During COVID, we couldn't really spend it on anything else. You were stuck in your house, so you made home improvements, you bought NFTs, you put a ton of money into crypto, and because a lot of that might actually be down now because they were sitting at their all-time highs, there might be a lot more people who are skeptical with the way that the world is moving, how to spend their money next time, or when something is running up. And I think this will be the exact same thing when it comes to stuff, even like licensed digital collectibles from the biggest brands in the world, like Veve. Now, I went on quite a tangent there about the world itself and how that could be in relation to the way people invest their money. And the reason I've done this is because I want you to understand that there's a lot more factors when it comes to an NFT market, even with the likes of Veve, when you're thinking about the whole other scale of the world itself. And it's something that you do have to take into consideration. In this downtime as well, when things are like this, people tend to get a lot more aggressive. So in the last few weeks when things were really, really down, they were reaching sort of their lows that they've been at, especially since January, everything's sort of just been decreasing. Negativity and aggressiveness usually comes to the forefront. So this is when people's emotions are really at the front. You know, there's a lot of people who didn't like that I stopped making videos for 2 weeks because they thought I'd just stopped because Veve was going down, all that sort of stuff, which is kind of stupid to think, but I understand it from their emotional standpoint. They believe that everything has to revolve around what people are doing, and therefore their emotions come to the forefront when things aren't working out as much and have to let their anger go everywhere else. And this is what a lot of people tend to do. This is the sentiment that we usually have, especially when it comes to cash investments that we are making with our own money. This is why during these times, I try my best to take a step back from it all and really look at it in the most logical manner that I can. Now, I totally okay with being wrong. I know that's going to be the case for a lot of the things. No one can actually predict the future. It's just not possible. There are obviously companies who could probably manipulate the future. I believe companies like BlackRock will definitely be able to do that, as they're able to alter how companies kind of move themselves. But for someone like me, and someone like you, you're most likely not going to be able to guess anything right. You're just going to have to make your best logical decision based on facts, data, past history, that sort of stuff. And that's what I try to do. So when I'm looking at this sort of open, wider scale of investments in general, it doesn't seem like we're going to have that good a time in the next few years. Some people as well have been obviously really happy that Veve took a massive spike as of recently, but that massive spike actually has already turned and it's back down to what it was at before. My portfolio did shoot up just like everyone else's and is back down to what it was before that spike, just before. And I kind of knew this was going to be the case. And this again is when people all come out, start rampaging and raging that it's went up and then you said it wasn't going to keep going up and then it's went down again. So this is why we need to continue to think logically. We need to continue to look at it on a wider scale than just what we're seeing in front of us. You know, don't have those blinkers on. Try to look at a sort of wider area of the market just to understand that a little bit further. Again, I do want to premise that I don't know everything either. There's going to be tons of things I make mistakes on and that's okay. I'm actually open to accepting that that's fine and I know that's going to be the case. But we can only try to make those best decisions for ourselves by doing more research and not just keeping those blinkers on and focusing straight ahead. I've been in NFTs, crypto, probably for over a year now. It has been over a year. And I've been trying to learn a little bit more about what stands out and why. And each time, Veve continues to stand out for me. And this isn't just because the way that the company's moving. I actually do believe the company has set up in a completely different way to the way most NFT projects do, because they started with their company of Ecomi and then built Veve sort of onto it, and now they're working in partnership to sort of help each other along the way. It's not to say that they're directly affected, but it kind of can be in a lot of instances. And Veve have tried to focus on making it easy for the average consumer to come in, and this is what we've said has to happen. For mass adoption to come in, people have to find it really easy to get entered into it, and if they can be spending on crypto without even knowing it, that's a massive win on Ecomi's regard. And this is where I feel Veve really does stand out, and they make their plays on just a whole other business scale, and it's more like a business rather than just this NFT project. Something that I think is important, especially when you look at the business world, is copycats. So you will know for a fact, if you've been in NFTs, the amount of copycat projects that the Bored Ape has had, as well as things like Doodles, as well as things like Azuki. A lot of copycats have happened, or did happen even before these were the case, because of their success. The big difference with Veve is that it's very hard to replicate easily. Getting all of these licenses and partnerships takes years to actually do. I think David Yu had said they started talks about Disney in 2018, and then it happened in 2021. This was when the announcement happened, and they started to release their first Disney NFTs. So the amount of dedication and time that has to go in to replicate something makes it more and more challenging over time to replicate it. Companies that tend to do really, really well do often find hard for competitors to copy exactly what they're doing. If you look at the likes of TikTok with what they'd created, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, they all started to copy what TikTok were doing, and they all started to bring in their own versions, so shorts on YouTube, reels on Instagram, because of the success TikTok was having. Now, that is more easily replicated, but when it comes to something that is more complicated, like a license for Disney itself, that tends to be a lot harder. Therefore, replication is again more challenging for just an average company. And this is why, for me, over the long run, if Veve can continue their success with the likes of marketing, with the likes of their business premise, with the likes of their ethos and what they're actually aiming for, then I can't see many companies being able to replicate exactly what Veve have been able to do over the last few years anyway. If we are coming out of this bubble, and the bubble's going to burst soon with this NFT, crypto market and all that sort of stuff, like some people are predicting, then there has to come builders out of the rubble. You know, there's always those successful ones that come out of the rubble and what they are. We had the dot-com bubble where a lot of companies just completely failed. They weren't able to move with the times, all that sort of stuff. Then you had the ones who actually were going to build something new that was going to change the way the world works now. And these were the ones that came out on top. Just like that, I do believe there are going to be some companies, whether that be in the educational field, collectible field, all that sort of stuff, that will be the builders of what comes out of this rubble. Most will fail, and we've said this from the beginning, like 95% of these projects will never be able to do anything, whether that's going to be because it's a cash grab, they are not actually doing things in the law, which we're seeing a lot of companies now being called out for. And as well, a lot of these exchanges are filing for bankruptcy, letting go a lot of their staff because they just don't have the capacity anymore, as we're not in an uptrend. And this is why I think it's so important to actually look at the businesses that have their stuff backed up with a lot of money and also are abiding by the law to the best of their ability, because eventually the law is going to catch up with them. Veve have been able to expand their marketing, they're getting licenses here and there, they're building better foundations, relationships, they're going to events, they're talking to people, they're getting the updates every month. We're now seeing MTL actually come into play. So for me, right now, the sentiment towards Veve is actually really positive. Because we're in such a downtrend for everything else, there usually is a lot of aggressiveness when it comes to that. And even still, there is a lot of negativity on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. You know, people on Twitter are ridiculous sometimes. It's funny to watch, it really, really is. I think it's important to hold a company accountable, which I think we've been able to do, especially on this channel. I don't think I've been afraid to call out the wrongs that Veve have been doing, but I have been a supporter of the company and have wanted to see them succeed, just like a lot of people have. For me right now, the sentiment really is quite positive. Veve are continuing to move forward. They're pushing that marketing. We're seeing the things with AMC theaters, people getting things for the quizzes they're doing in the Discord and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of good things that are beginning to happen. And the only way that this process continues is for them to just start in general. You know, you're not going to get better at something until you do it again and again and again. So yes, the first quiz for people to get this like Thor picture or anything like that might have not run that well, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they're all going to run better because they've took the leap to actually do it. So for me right now, what I'm doing in regards to Veve and what's happening is I've kind of took a step back from investments in general. I've still got gems on my account that I'm buying here and there, some of the things that I really like, but in regards to like cryptocurrency and other NFTs, I've really held off at the moment, and I'm just trying to stack cash to be able to invest in when I believe it's going to become lower anyway. I don't believe we're at the bottom just yet, and even with Veve, I still don't believe we're at the bottom. I think once MTL comes, yes, there might be a little bit of a run up here and there, but the overall market and the world isn't looking that great at the moment. And I don't think just because you have the best licenses in the world means that you are going to be standing out from the whole crowd of the stock, crypto, and NFT market purely because of that. I still think there's going to be a lot of people who are very hesitant to put money in because of the world that we're in right now. I think there's a lot of people who are going to save their cash rather than invest in stuff. Could be wrong, but I do believe we might see a little bit of a further low before massive gains happen again with what people are maybe hoping for. Who knows? I could be wrong, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole situation. I wanted to give an overall sort of view and feel to the way I'm having right now on Veve and just the overall market, to maybe give you a little bit further to go and research yourself, see if something sparks your interest, to just educate yourself a bit further on this front. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.